Hi, it's John Taffer from Bar Rescue. Did you know the second building in America was a tavern? When I built my new restaurant franchise concept, Taffer's Tavern, I thought back to the roots of what makes a tavern, timeless character, all while delivering an unbelievably delicious food and beverage experience. That paired with my 40-plus years in the industry provides a clear roadmap to success. Do you have what it takes to be a Taffer's Tavern franchisee? If so, I'd love to hear from you. Visit franchise.tafferstavern.com.
The skills and credentials you need for the career you want are within reach at University of Maryland Global Campus. An accredited state university, UMGC offers online courses, personalized advising, lifetime career services, and more. Visit umgc.edu/podcast.
Hey everyone, this is the Almost World Podcast. Bringing to you mind-blowing interviews with guests from all over the world. So settle down, relax, and enjoy the show. Oh yeah, by the way, if you like the podcast, please support Almo's World Podcast on Patreon. Your support is what helps the podcast improve more and more. Welcome to Almo's World Podcast. This is Elmo, and I'm with my friend Sam. Hey man, can you introduce yourself?
Hello everyone, my name's Sam of South Wales, so if anyone doesn't know where that is, it's a little part of the UK next to England. I'm based. Not much to say really. I'm just a normal South Walian. Like to wind up the English as we all do, and I work as a cook. It's been my trade since I was about 16, and yeah, it's not much to say really. Rugby mad lad, like all Welsh people are, and I enjoy things like boxing and stuff as well.
Yeah, Sam, I guess I'm really interested in your story about your journey in terms of exploring other religions, right? Can you talk about that more? Where it took you?
Yeah, of course. So I guess start off right at the beginning, right? I was brought up in a Christian household, Baptist to be precise, if anyone needs that, and I guess when you are brought up around a religion, it's easy to become numb to it. Like it just is what it is. You go to Sunday every week, so what? And you go to Sunday school, so what? Like it's very easy to become numb to all of that. And then when I hit the age of about 15, 16, it's that kind of age where you discover things. I'm just not sure if this happened to you, Elmo, but you discover things like, I don't know, going out and getting drunk and dating and that sort of the party lifestyle, you discover that. And then basically religion just wasn't important to me at that point. I wouldn't proclaim I became an atheist per se, but it just wasn't important. There were other things that were more important. Getting a girlfriend was more important, or going out and getting wasted was more important, But then I think that moment changed when I went fishing. I went fishing with my brother, and it was a really lovely day. And I remember seeing a little kingfisher fly past me, and I saw a salmon jump out of the river and this sort of thing. And I just thought to myself, this world's really beautiful, isn't it? And from that, a little thought, this world's really beautiful, also made me say to myself, is there someone or something to be thankful for all of this, basically? So then I just started looking back into religion again. Initially, I looked back into Christianity a little bit, but I'm happy to say I kind of discounted Christianity actually in the end, because I was saying to myself the Trinity doesn't make sense and the hypostatic union doesn't make sense and stuff like this. And then one day I'm scrolling through YouTube and I come across a video by a YouTube channel called SC Dawa with a guy called Hashim in it. Hashim is one of the main debaters of Speaker's Corner. For any viewers listeners, who don't know Speaker's Corner, it's a part of Hyde Park in London. It's like basically where people get to go and debate people. It's like a symbol of free speech, basically. And I started listening to these videos with Hashim and Mansour, and then I came across the EF Dawah videos with Hamza Mayat, and I think he was easier to listen to because he's English, like English through and through, like a native guy, if you like. So it was easy to listen to him. But also for the first time, I got exposed to arguments, certainly against Christianity, that I hadn't heard before. And at the time, they seemed very logical. Things, for example, like how can God have a son? At the time, that seemed like a logical thing to say, really. Or, for example, that, 3 and 1, well, 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 3. So they were using these sorts of arguments. But also, I'm not sure if you're aware, like, I don't know, Elmo, if you're ignorant of, like, I knew of Islam, of course, but if you're ignorant of it, are you aware it's a really easy religion to sell to someone? Like, I don't know, I'd like you to just comment on that. Do you know what I mean by it's easy?
Yeah, I have. I talk to a lot of Muslim friends, and when it comes to like theism, the first religion that you would actually head to when it comes to a monotheist religion is Islam, right? Because it's the most basic thing. They rely on this classical theist concept of God, and it's really actually harder to be a Christian if you're coming from like a philosophical understanding of who God is, because then you're gonna have to arrive at the Trinity, and it's getting more complicated. So on a simpler scale, or which one is simpler and more basic, well, Muslims do have that advantage.
When you dive very deep into Islam, it gets quite complicated actually. But on the surface, it's very simple, and it's very like it's the idea that you worship just one God. You pray and you do your prayers. You fast during the month of Ramadan, and you generally just try to do all these good deeds. On the surface, it's so easy to sell someone. So in the end, I actually got in touch with EF Dawah. I just spoke to them for a bit, like just asked some questions. Like I asked some questions about the Quran, for example, and stuff like this. And then in the end, I ended up taking my Shahada with them, and I became a Muslim then.
How long did it take?
Yeah,
how long was the process?
I would say from the start of watching the videos to my Shahada, it was just about under a year, something like 11 months. Something like 10 or 11 months. Like I know it wasn't quite a year, but I know it wasn't very far from it. Because I knew that deep down, if I go down this road, this could really change my life, sort of thing. So I want to make sure this is correct, And at the time when I accepted it, I fully believed it was correct. It's because I was basically just completely sold on it. And actually, also, one cool thing about Islam actually is when you've become what they call a revert, you don't convert to Islam, you revert to Islam is the belief. Then literally everyone just loves you, hugs you, calls you brother, buy gifts for you. You're treated like such an honored guest, basically. And it makes you feel right at home straight away, really. Like, I don't know, it's the best way to put it. And then I guess I went through the journey of just being a Muslim, really. And I used to attend Speaker's Corner with the other brothers and just have some fun down there. I even went on a retreat in a place called Milton Keynes. And the retreat was basically very basic in terms of, it just taught you about the basics of Islam, just taught you about the 5 pillars, the 6 pillars, how to pray, etc., etc. There was nothing really controversial that was talked about on that retreat. But I will mention this. There was one thing that was rather peculiar, which was they brought up at one point, we used to have this little discussion group, roughly about, say, 5 in the evening. And they brought up the British definition of what terrorism was and basically said that was wrong. And then gave an Islamic version of what terrorism was. Like, I don't know, would you want to comment on that? Because I did find that a bit weird at the time.
Yeah. Well, my question was, when it comes to the belongingness that religions provide, right? Even Christianity could provide that to you, like how Islam did. Do you think that was the thing that got you into it, or was it the rational arguments?
No, the rational arguments. Don't get me wrong, the sort of treatment that you get helps. But I wasn't aware of like when I took my Shahada, I was not aware of the sort of treatment you get. I was not actually aware of that. But certainly the treatment that you get makes you just feel welcome and like almost at home, you know? But I would say that I would say though, in terms of the difference between Islam and Christianity, I would say reverts in Islam are much more revered and they're really well looked after in comparison to converts to Christianity. I'm not saying that in Christianity we're completely cold to converts. I'm not saying that, but say for example the support network. So when I became a revert, I was in this group chat on Facebook with the EF Dawa members, but also all the other reverts. And if we had any questions, we could just pop them in the group chat and someone would answer them. And do you get me? We had this great support network, and even little things like, well, this isn't really little, this is awesome. But for example, I live in South Wales, which is a good distance from London to Speaker's Corner. That's a solid 3-hour trip. They would pay for like travel and a hotel for me to go and stay there, you know, to go to Speaker's Corner. So it you know, the support network you got was, they even paid for me to go on the retreat as well. You know, like you know, the support network you get is amazing. It's something you can't really knock. And I guess also you feel like you're part of something that's much bigger than yourself, massive, you know. And when you buy into that, you just feel so at peace and welcome, you know.
I guess I want to ask you about the first 3 months or so. You know, like when you were testing the waters of Islam. How did it come about?
How did it go, sort of thing? It was well, it was fine, really. It was you know, like I say, you got this great support network. How can you fail? You know, you'll be completely fine, really.
But what was on your mind? Like, I'm a you know, like I'm a someone from South Wales, and I'm usually coming from a Christian background, right? Most of my family are Christian.
I see. I see. There was a few little, I wouldn't describe them as backlashes per se, but you know, I would say my family wasn't necessarily impressed. Like, they didn't like kick me out of the house or anything, but they certainly weren't impressed. A couple of my friends disowned me, like not all of them, but one or two of them. So it was, because I guess it's very alien and foreign, certainly where I come from. Where I come from, it's like quite a sort of lots of little Baptist and Methodist chapels everywhere. You know, it's that kind of area. So yeah, the hardest part about Islam was always being at home, basically. But I was eventually connected to a mosque in Cardiff of a revert brother there. And yeah, like that made life a lot easier going back and forth from there, because Cardiff wasn't too far from me. So yeah, but I would say overall the reaction I got wasn't too bad. It could have been so much. It could have been so much worse. Like, and I was actually expecting it to be worse, to be honest.
But what I'm really curious about is, like, before you were into all this stuff, you were, I guess, like, you didn't really care about what if you were an atheist or religious or anything. But what beliefs did they convince you at the start? Like when they presented Islam, like how did they start to convince you?
So it was the belief of, so I believed that for definite, before I even started looking into Islam, that something created the whole earth and universe. I just wasn't, say, convinced of the idea it was a triune God from Christianity, because to me that just sounded too complex and this kind of thing. And also I was also under the impression, and when I started watching the Islamic videos, that I didn't believe the Bible actually backed up the Trinity anyway. I've been proven wrong now, but but yeah, I think it was the simple idea of God is one, and this God has created everything. So this God is worthy of your worship, which was essentially what I was searching for. That was the essence of what I was searching for, really. And I guess I found it within Islam, There's because on the surface, Islam does have this really simple message of there is one God, Allah. You worship and pray to him for creating you and for creating the universe. And obviously there's the little things like the fasting and stuff, but the point is that that message resonated with me, and I really embraced it. And I was like, yes, this is what I've been looking for.
So you've been, I guess, like a Muslim. You recited your Shahada, right? And for like 11 months you were into it. What got you out?
But I was actually a Muslim for 2 years in the end. It was 11 months just leading up to discovering about it. But I'd say the moment that started to take me out of it was, I would say this was the catalyst anyway. Are you aware of that famous debate between Muhammad Hijab and David Wood? So that was the catalyst. That was definitely the catalyst, because I remember, David Wood pointed out that Allah prays. Now, in Islamic theology, that doesn't work in the sense of what God in Islam is meant to be. If he prays, that really doesn't work. That kind of breaks the whole concept of what God in Islam is meant to be. Now, I personally didn't necessarily think that hijab was the brightest tool in the shed. So I didn't at that moment in time sort of go, oh, this is the end of the world. I just kind of went, you know what, maybe someone along the lines of like Mansour or Hashim or Yasser Qadi or Shabi Ali or someone along these lines. The proper, what I would describe as like the proper Muslim apologists, they'll correct this. They'll correct this little blunder that's happened. But they never did. They never did, and they could never disprove it. So that just lingered in my mind. And then the next thing that started to, I would say this is the one that took me out altogether, was when Jay Smith and Hatim Tash started pointing out the textual variants of the Quran. Now, because that's an issue, because the Quran claims to be perfectly preserved, with no variation. So I remember going like privately on my own and saying, and I went up to Hatton and I said, look, I don't want to be on camera. I don't want to be shouted at. I literally just want to talk to you about, your case for the Quran being corrupted. That's all. So we just kind of went into a little corner and I chatted to her, and everything that she told me, like she showed me the differences between the Hafs, Wash, Duri, and all these different manuscripts, and significant differences as well. And I guess when I left that day, I wasn't really a Muslim anymore, in the sense of I didn't really believe it anymore, But I would say the final nail in the coffin was, I remember when I went home that day, I just turned on YouTube, and there was a video of Bob the Builder, the apologist in Speaker's Corner. You aware of him? Yeah, it was one of his videos. Oh, FYI, I hated Bob. Anyone can look this up. If you look up when Hamza and Bob debated, I'm the young lad who went in and had a go at Bob. And called him a disgrace and stuff like that. Anyways, so I wasn't keen on Bob. That's the point. I didn't like him at all. But I saw this video and I thought to myself, do you know what? I'm just going to listen to what he has to say for once. Because I always used to blank out Bob because I just thought he was I think you're programmed to think like this in Islam, but I just thought he was an Islamophobe and a hate preacher and all this kind of thing. But now for once I listened to him and I thought, you know what? He was debating Hashim. It was sorry, not Hashim. It's this guy Omar on where the Quran permits adultery. And the thing was this boy, this young lad couldn't disprove Bob in any way. And I was like, wow, how can I subscribe to a religion that allows this? And then that was the final nail in the coffin, I'd say, was watching that video. I think I was already kind of out already at that point, but that was definitely the moment where I finally said to myself, do you know what? No more. This religion clearly is false.
It was sort of, I guess, Hatun that started the fire. Then it was kindled by Bob the Builder.
Yeah. Bob the Builder of all people as well. Like I don't. If you listen, Bob, nothing personal, mate. But I did hate you at the time.
Yeah, but I guess like disproving Islam doesn't really take you to Christianity itself.
Well, here's the thing. I guess after watching that video of Bob's, I decided I might get in touch with him because I was watching a few other of his videos of him just defending Christianity. And for the first time in my life, he was someone who could defend the Christian faith from a rational point of view. He wasn't trying to just say it's true. He was looking at it as historically. He was looking at and also using, if you like, fullness of the Bible and the fullness of Scripture to say where Christian beliefs come from. So I did start to think to myself, this guy's actually got some very good points, about Christianity. He's actually got some really good points. So I ended up getting in touch with him. When I say in touch with him, I remember sending an email to Soko Films, which is, JC or Soko, the guy who films Bob half the time. But I addressed it to Bob. But I had mentioned that, I was out of Islam and I was the boy who had a crack at Bob all those years ago. And bloody JC gone and posted the email on YouTube, didn't he? That was fun. But anyways, I then got in touch with Bob and I had a discussion with him about, say, things like original sin, because that was still a sticking point for me. But he managed to explain that very well. And also the idea of, if you like, why the crucifixion and the resurrection had to happen. But obviously that ties into original sin anyway. And through the grace of God, Bob sort of talked me round to being a Christian, really, because I guess I was more curious. I think at first it was more of a case of I wanted to just hear the case for Christianity, but Bob put it quite good that I actually was like, do you know what? There really is truth in this, isn't there? Because I guess, like I say, for the first time, he was not telling me to believe it. He was saying why you can believe it. And that's something that, say, the Dawah team in Speaker's Corner, they do. They say, we believe it for X, Y, and Z. Whereas over the years, I had not met many Christians who said to me, we believe this because of X, Y, and Z. We just believe it. So I think I needed someone like Bob to say to me, I actually believe in Christianity because of these reasons. Like, for example, the fact that you can historically test Jesus's crucifixion as to whether it really happened or not. and the majority of the evidence will point to the fact that it did happen. So it's things like that, and also how there are historical things in the Bible which you can test once again. So I needed someone like Bob, to be fair. But it's just funny. It's just, in hindsight, it's just funny how it was him of all people. So I remember hating him so much.
I feel that, like, for example, like, if you look at yourself, like, remember yourself or what you did or what you thought, what you believed in like a year ago or 2 years ago, you would like slap yourself and like, wake up,
Yes, very much so. Very much so. It's like Bob, I'd called him every name under the sun. Names I won't repeat here. Jason Burns, who used to go down to Speaker's Corner a fair bit. I used to call him names as well. I'm not going to repeat any of the names I used to call them on here. Hatton, I used to refer to as the screechy Christian lady. I look back and think, oh, wow, I was proper mean to people, wasn't I?
For a Muslim.
Fruits of Islam, right?
Well, I'm not. I wouldn't say it was a fruit of Islam. It was just you, bro. They were just immature you, I would say.
Yeah, that's it. That's a good point. But also, I will say this. I think when you're within Islam, there is a mentality of it's you guys against the world a little bit. There is that mentality there. So I think some people don't necessarily be a bit aggressive. I wouldn't say I was totally aggressive, but I wasn't that bad. I wouldn't like try and hurt anyone.
But I guess like that approach that, it's you against the world. I think everybody has that, not just Islam. There's an embedded tribalism in the differences that we have.
No, I agree with you there, but I guess certainly, say if you go down to Speaker's Corner, for example, and say you get someone like Bob, like, does like to poke the hornet's nest, if you like, and ask some uncomfortable questions that the Muslims don't like. What does happen on occasion is you'll find that they'll all surround him and just gang up on him. Whereas that doesn't really happen with the Christians. It doesn't really happen. Like I would say if things start to escalate, the Christians will all sort of, I wouldn't say gang up together, but try and protect each other a bit. But it's not quite that sort of mob mentality where you literally got like 30, 40 people surrounding you. Like it's not quite that. It's not quite like that. But you get a mixture. You get a mixture in that mob though. You get some who will just call you names. And then others, say like when Hatton got hit, like you'll get others then like that. So it's a mixed bag.
Maybe it's the inherent concepts of, for Christians, we're more of a very individualistic, right? And within Christianity itself, we fight each other, so there's not really that much unity, right? Even a Methodist would argue with a Baptist on the intricacies of doctrines and whatnot. But for Muslims, I would say that there are differences like in jurisprudence and theology, but they're more of a united front. Yeah, so I guess that.
Well, certainly say down in Speaker's Corner, the majority of the Muslims there are Sunnis. You do get a couple of Shias like Modine, Modine is just hilarious. He's brilliant. Like but the majority are Shias. So the majority are Sunnis. So you do get the majority of them are singing off the same hymn sheet, I guess. And you bring up a valid point really about Christianity though. Like, because I do feel like there is a lot of division and what have you, but we need to sort of look past it. I don't think there's anything wrong with like I'm on Discord, as you know, and I don't think there's anything wrong with like debating these little doctrinal points. I don't think there's any harm in that, but I think we need to come together as well and stand up for each other, a bit of solidarity. Like, if you get me. Doesn't mean we have to agree though on all the same doctrines.
Well, I guess if you have that sort of mindset that, you know, like, we Christians, we have to stand up together because the real enemy, you know, the greater enemy is Islam. If that's gonna be your mindset, then I don't think
That's not my mindset personally. I'm more of all I mean is it's like, say, I'm just saying, use Speaker's Corner as an example. If, like, you know, someone tried to attack like Bob or say Ben, you know, it I would be one of the first people to go and stick up for them. You know, like, that's what I more mean when I say solidarity. It's not the idea that it's like it's not the idea that it's like us against the world. It ain't that. It's just more, you know, just look out for each other. And at the end of the day, we're all brothers and sisters in Christ, aren't we? So it's just look after each other and keep an eye on each other and make sure everyone's okay.
Yeah, but I want to ask you about the Speaker's Corner because, you know, I guess like it's one of my bucket lists to debate someone in Speaker's Corner, but I have to go to England first. But yeah, generally, like, what's the atmosphere there? Like, what's the goal? Like, people go there just to socialize, or some actually like want to win arguments and defeat as many Christians as possible or Muslims as possible?
Well, you get it. It's a mixed bag in Speaker's Corner. You know, you get people. So there's seriously, YouTube this guy. You've got a guy like Steve, for example, Steve the Atheist, he's affectionately known as. And Steve literally goes to Speaker's Corner to troll people. Like you know, he is literally Speaker's Corner's resident heckler. That's all he is. Like, don't get me wrong, on occasions, Steve comes up with good points and, you know, can debate someone quite decently. But I think Steve just likes to go there, have a bit of fun. He likes to poke fun at people. Like he would happily heckle a Muslim as much as a Christian. He doesn't really have a bias there. Then you might get people along the lines of like Hashim and Mansour and Hamza, and, you know, I put Bob the Builder in this category, and, you know, people like Hatton as well, where they go there for, say, their causes, you know, like, so, you know, the Muslims go there to spread Islam, basically, and to debate and tear down other people's arguments. Likewise, so do people like, well, Hatton is more up for debating the Muslims than anyone else, to be fair. And whereas I'd say Bob would debate pretty much anyone who'd come up to him. But you get the idea. These people have come down for specific reasons, like, and they know their stuff. These are the people that, if you're new to Speaker's Corner, you don't want to debate, because these are the people who know what they're on about and can make you look very stupid. Then I'd say you got a third category, which is the one I'd put myself in, which is like, I like to go there and I like to have conversations and debates with people, but more out of the limelight. You know, like, I like to just chat to people against the edge of the fence, if you like, and just have those sort of conversations where there's no pressure. You're just having a nice conversation. You know, I'm not there for any particular purpose. I just enjoy it for what it is, you know, and that sort of thing. Like, I don't, and like, I've appeared on camera a couple of times in Speaker's Corner, but I would say only twice on purpose. The other times have been just because I got caught in the limelight, if you like, in terms of I just got caught in someone's camera view.
Yeah, I think it's an awesome phenomenon, actually, because, you know, that you got, it's not actually like official formal debate, but it's just a bunch of people going there because they have sort of this invisible law that they all understand, you know, this mutual sort of respect that we're just there for conversation, right? Is there like an organization there or something?
Oh, no, you don't have that with Speaker's Corner at all. So from my understanding, where Speaker's Corner sort of came from is, so you've got, for example, another equivalent to Speaker's Corner would be the Oxford Union in Oxford University. Like, the Oxford Union will debate any topic. No topic is off bounds. Like, they very much firmly believe in free speech. But there's only two ways you can debate in the Oxford Union. One is you've got to be studying at Oxford University, and the other one is you've got to be invited. Like, those are the only two ways you could get into the Oxford Union. There's no other way to do it. And as I understand it, Speaker's Corner is basically the peasants' version of the Oxford Union, like in the sense of, it's anyone can go there, rich or poor. It's just a 100-meter stretch of Hyde Park, and that's all it is. And I would say it's regulated, if you like, by the police, in terms of the police will pull up anyone who's being aggressive or anyone who is, because obviously there are some limits to free speech in some respects. For example, if someone stood on a box and started screaming out, "Gas all the Jews," I don't think the police would let you keep saying that. So, the police will keep an eye on things, and they certainly have been ever since the events with Hatton, the assaults on her and stuff like that. They've certainly been policing it very heavily now.
It's scary though to think that you're just there to repeat things that a lot of most Christians already believe, and you're going to be targeted for being that representative. What do you think about what's happening to that? The hate, the mob attitudes.
So what like the stuff that's basically happened with Hatton recently? I guess my opinion is mixed, really. I believe that Hatton has the right to do what she's been doing, having a Quran with holes drilled in it, etc., etc. I believe she's got that right to do that. However, for example, when she got hit, it was going to happen at some point. That she was for a while, she was getting a reaction out of the Muslims. I'm not saying Hatton was deliberately trying to get a reaction. That's not my point here. But you've done something that is clearly going to get a reaction, and all it's going to take is someone who's finally brave enough to hit you. Do you know what I mean? You have, at the end of the day, desecrated their holy book. So yeah, I'm of the impression that Hatton should be allowed to do it, but do I personally agree with what she's done? Not really. I think it's a bit distasteful and not really the right way to get
I
your
guess
point across.
it's like for me, if I had a family picture, of my family, and I value that very much, like how a Muslim would value the Quran, or which they really value highly, right? For them it's sacred. And if for someone were to desecrate the picture of my family, or do something horrible to it, or just disrespect it in some horrible way, then I would myself be personally affected, right? And that's the kind of thing that you would expect of what Hatton did, right, with the Quran. And
yeah, like I remember a lot of people there were people who were surprised that Hatton got hit. I might have been one of the only people who wasn't. And what I mean by this is that this was going to happen at some point. All it took was one guy who was finally brave enough to do it. Doesn't justify it. That guy should have never have hit Hatton in the first place. But it was going to happen. And so I have got quite a mixed view on it. I do believe what she's been doing is distasteful, and also it has potentially put the future of Speaker's Corner in jeopardy. I do believe there are better ways to make your point than that. But at the end of the day, she does actually have the right to do it. So I don't think any of us can tell her that she can't do it.
Yeah.
She can continue to do it by all means.
Well, but I want to ask you more about who you are now as a Christian. What do you believe? How's your spiritual life? And if you got convinced of Christianity because of the rational arguments, because you said that you need someone like Bob the Builder to actually convince you of Christianity. So where are you now in your spiritual journey?
Very strong, to be fair. And I think ever since I stepped back into Christianity, it's just been getting stronger and stronger all the time. And I guess in the end, I've ended up coming from the sort of Roman Catholic angle, so that's the church I attend, and yeah, I can't complain really. And it's also been good that I've now met a lot of good people, in terms of like say Ben Beale, who you've had on your podcast. Like he's a good lad, and like I've got a lot of time for him, and like Bob, I've got a lot of time for him. Kay as well, JC, like all these people are great people, and it's good to have them around. But I guess yeah, and also one thing I found is the stronger I've been getting in Christianity, the calmer I've been getting, and like the better kind of life seems to get. I haven't had any supernatural experiences of like seeing thunder and lightning and all this stuff. I just feel like the peace of God in me, that's all. And
what about like your
certainly
prayer
my plan
life?
now,
Like, do you feel like that, like the Holy Spirit is working in you and stuff like that? The spiritual side of things.
I would say so, yes. Like I'm a lot better at like witnessing to people now and just explaining like my faith to them, not in that Bible bashing type of way, but just sharing my faith with people. And in fact, I'm going to be starting up a YouTube channel soon as a Christian apologist, because I basically want to be able to do a similar or perform a similar role as what, say, maybe Bob performed for me. Like I would more do it in the angle of I want to approach anyone. I don't just want to debate Muslims. I want to debate Jews or atheists or
let's
Hindus
talk
or Buddhists.
about like the
you know.
Christian theology for a moment. Yeah, and then I want to understand how you look at Christianity right now. Let's say that you said that you now believe in original sin, right? Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well,
yes, because without original sin, Jesus is not necessary.
Mm-hmm. So, like, to you, like, who is Jesus like do you believe in like the most basic Trinity, the Orthodox view of the Trinity? Yeah.
Yes, I would say so. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, when it comes to salvation, though, right? Like, I want to ask you if I, accept Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, could there be a point in my life after it that I leave Christianity and I stop being saved?
So you've accepted Jesus Christ, but then you're not saved.
After like 5 years or 10 years, I started like losing my faith, and I was an atheist again. Would I have lost my salvation? I
would say so, yes, because your faith has to last you up until the day you die.
So,
like certainly if you. Because I think it's possible for people to say be a Christian at some point in their life, then maybe they become atheist, and then maybe they become a Christian again. I think it's more that if you die not accepting Jesus as your savior, that's the crucial part.
Mm-hmm. So I guess like in order for me to be saved, I have to stay a Christian until I die.
Yes, because if you renounce your Christian faith like completely, like in Christianity, it's taught that you don't necessarily have to be the strongest or the best believer to go to heaven. It's not like that. Where it's just more that the idea that you have that faith within you still. Whereas if you renounce it altogether, you say that God doesn't exist, Jesus didn't die, etc., then you're think of it as like you've got the way I was once told it is like this. Imagine you've got a check in your back pocket, or everyone does, for £1 million. So £1 million here in the UK, right? And everyone has got a chance to check it. The Christians are the ones who have checked it.
Okay, but if let's say that like I was a Christian, I accept Jesus Christ, but after 10 years I became an atheist, yeah, and I died an atheist, did I actually accept Jesus Christ the first time I did, or was that just a false acceptance? Well, I'd never really accepted him in the first place, or did I actually lose my salvation?
I would personally believe you would lose your salvation in that case. Yeah, that reminds me of like, because I think back to when I was a Christian first time around. Like, because even though I do wonder, I sort of half believed in Christianity the first time around, because just because I was brought up around it, you know, and my grandparents were Christian, my brother was Christian, you know, and yeah, like I wonder, I wasn't necessarily the most sincere believer, so I do wonder that sometimes. Like, what would class you as? Because this is a question I've been wondering about recently. Especially, I remember having this conversation on Discord literally a few days ago. What counts as like a true believer of Christ? Is it, say, someone who goes to church every Sunday, for example, or is it someone who would live out their lives with like the love of Christ in their heart, and they would display it? So it's it's an interesting topic, really, and it's one I've been thinking about quite a lot recently.
Well, I guess, yeah, but for you, like, how do you define a real, true Christian? Like, what does it really mean to be someone on the Christian side, not just believe the Bible or Christ's resurrection, but actually be a Christian that is born again?
I would say their actions show it. So in terms of how they treat people, how they look at the world, and like, because I guess, say, take someone like Bob, for example. I guess I always knew, I'm not going to describe it as his Speaker's Corner persona, but I guess I knew him when he was just debating people. And when he debates people, he doesn't take any prisoners, does he? But anyways, when I actually got in touch with him, I got to know really who the man really was. And what actually came across was this really genuine, gentle, kind, like, person who was also genuinely concerned about, say, my salvation and wanted me to share in that salvation, you know? So, like, I would say I'd say it comes forth in your actions, but more in your actions when you can sense that necessarily these people are not really trying. It's just that their faith has actually made them do this. Like, they feel touched by it, and it's making them do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, it's like this though. When it comes to salvation, yeah, we Christians have so many doctrines or differences in how it comes about. You know, like Calvinists say that, oh, you are going to be saved because God chose you even before creation and all of that, predetermination. And some believe that it was also on our part that we actually chose God himself, you know, so we are also sort of responsible for our salvation. But to me, like, if I'm a Christian, right, if I'm looking at all of this, how would I know which like side is right? Is it the Calvinists, the Arminians, like whoever, evangelicals, you know, Presbyterian, who is right? For me, it would be, I would actually find the answer if I would go into prayer and ask the Holy Spirit to reveal it to me, right? And not rely on basic just human cognition, because, you know, salvation is something I would say is a mystery, really. Like, even children could get saved, and I don't think that it's not. I don't think understanding is the epitome of really being saved, right? I think it goes much deeper and more complicated than that, and when it comes to that, I tend to not take a side. Yeah, I guess in terms of that.
Wise idea, by the way.
Yeah, you know, it for me, like, it would unify us Christians. You know, if I were in a room with a Catholic and I'm a Baptist, and there was let's say an Orthodox Christian for an Eastern Orthodox one, and we were to, if we were to debate a Muslim, let's say, and we were to have the solidarity, it would be better for us to have, I guess, like a vague position on on the doctrines, and just sort of agree to disagree, and I guess like talk about and
yeah, and I think that
yeah.
At the end of the day, I guess I've looked I've ended up being a Catholic, right? But that came from research, and it came from me trying to find out where my place in Christianity is. Oh, by the way, the amount of times you get called a heretic as a Catholic is quite funny. But anyways, but like obviously the Catholic Church, the Catholic teaching is very much you're saved by God's grace first and foremost. God's grace is what is going to get you to heaven. Like that will trump everything else. But you're also saved by your works. The idea being that it's no good to just have faith. You've actually got to do something about it. Just the best effort though that you can make, basically. But say if I was a Calvinist, I would say no. Your faith is strong enough. That'll do it. Like if I was a Calvinist, but I think these I would call, I don't know, I don't like how people like to fall out over this. So I think there are a few schools of thought here. And I think it's best to accept that we've all got these schools of thought.
Well, the way I would answer that is this, right? Like, the equation is this, like grace plus works equals salvation. I'd say like grace plus salvation equals works, right? So it's not that works is the cause for your salvation. It is grace, right? As the Catholic believes and any Christian would believe, but there has to be works in the equation too, right? Like you can't be a Christian and still be doing the same thing that you've done before. There's actually need to be this transformation in your life, this change, right? This good works has to be in the equation. So I would say yes, to be in the sanctification process, of course, we have to go through that direction.
Yeah, sanctification, like yeah. But we need. I guess I agree. I guess the one thing I guess it's not known within the Catholic teaching is they say that your works are done through God's grace anyway. So overall, it is God's grace that gets you into heaven anyway. Like it's just, I think it's more the idea or what the teaching is meant to do. It's the idea of you're a Christian, be one, actually let this impact you and impact your heart and actually change you as a human being, like obviously for the better.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't say it a lot, but I actually, I'm more of an Eastern Orthodox guy in what I believe, but there's no Eastern Orthodox church here in my country, so I have to compromise. But yeah, but okay.
Well, so there's nothing wrong with that.
But how are you with Ben Beal and Bob the Builder? Like, what's your plan with your YouTube channel, bro? Like, where is that going?
Pretty much, I just want to be a Christian apologist and just take on all comers, really. Like, I don't really like, for example, Bob very much, and this isn't meant as a criticism of Bob at all. Bob very much focuses, say, on critiquing Islam, which is fine, and I sort of do commend him for that in a way, especially the way he goes about it. But that's not what I would prefer to do. I think what I would prefer to do is just take on all comers, whether it's atheists or Jews or Hindus, Buddhists, Muslims, whatever. Take on all comers, and that's kind of the plan, really. I guess I want to be able to, and also I want to be able to share something that has actually changed my life and impacted.
But why? I'm curious
because I feel it feels like, if I wouldn't usually say this, but I guess it feels like a calling almost. I feel like it's part of maybe what God wants me to do, because I have always been very good at talking to people. I have always been quite good at interacting with people. It's always been one of my greatest skills, and I feel like maybe put that to good use, you know. And like I say, I'm not going to be one of those apologists who's just out there to get people. I more just want to be able to just debate people in a spirit of goodwill and in love, rather than I'm here to tear down what you believe because you're an idiot. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. I guess like it how I look at it is that, you're someone here, who's living your life normally, and then you see this great challenge. Yeah, and it goes on every day in Speaker's Corner, where it sort of became your life mission, I guess, to be on the front lines and defending Christianity and actually helping people reach where you are right now, and you arrived at the truth, right? I think that's how you look at it.
Yeah, that is very true, because also the Christians do need reinforcements, say in Speaker's Corner. They're a lot stronger now than when I remember when I first started going and first started watching the videos. They're a lot stronger now, but they do need reinforcements, and they need people who are willing to go there and debate and spread the gospel. Really, they need people there to do that. And I guess, I don't know, I just had this thought a little while ago about, if you like, joining the fight. And but I wasn't sure at first. I just basically prayed about it. But that thought has always got stronger and stronger. So in the end, I've kind of gone, do you know what? Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to join in this fight.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But can I ask you one last question, right? And I think it's really important to ask this, and it's been a great conversation with you, bro. I've enjoyed it very much and learned so much. When you were, I guess, like when you actually converted back to Christianity, did someone share the gospel with you, and like how was it, and why did you feel that it was the truth?
That person was Bob, really, and I guess because when I left Islam, I was still believed very much that God was still out there somewhere. It wasn't necessarily Islam. In fact, at one point, I was wondering whether there was no religion with a true God in it at one point. But anyways, but there was one thing I always thought about God should be. God should be loving and caring, for example. And I guess all you have to do is read the Gospels and look at who Jesus was. And one thing that made me realize was, if this is truly God, wouldn't I be a fool not to follow this?
Yeah, and that's what got you into Christianity, right?
Yeah. Thanks be to God, yes.
Awesome. Well, Sam, it's been awesome talking to you, man. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. You've been a great guest.
And God bless you, by the way.
Bye,
brother.
Man. So that's the end of it. Thanks for tuning in, guys. This is your host, Elmo Ador Jr. And thank you for listening in. And please subscribe. Please follow us on Facebook. Please follow this. Please. Thanks.
It takes a lot of ingredients to fix or build a car, like cooking, but without the frozen dinner easy way out. eBay Motors has 122 million parts. It's always the right fitment, so you can follow any recipe to a T. Whether it's a vintage Italian coupe that's classic like grandma's meatballs, or a German luxury car that's as complicated as Oma's rouladen, to cook up something great in the garage, use the eBay Motors app or visit ebaymotors.com. Let's ride.
Holidays are here, and so is fashionable fitness. Gift yourself a Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 3 5G, a phone that folds in half to literally stand on its own. Pair it with the Galaxy Watch 4 for ultimate wellness and wow factor. Check health stats, flex personal records. Over 90 activities can be tracked, like biking, swimming, golfing, and more. Invest in yourself with tech made to crush goals. Holidays open up with Galaxy. Shop it all at Samsung.com. 5G connection and availability may vary. Check with carrier. Products sold separately.